want everybody to know that I did talk to all the governors in the South that were affected by the horrific weather that came in yesterday. Just some violent weather, and I did talk to the governors and pledge my full support. My administration would be fully supportive of any relief efforts that's needed in the area, and any disaster declarations, anything basically the states need. We'll be there to help them and assist them. It's a very devastating event down there in the South, and we are praying for them. As far as the continuing resolution, I'm again disappointed on that. And my disappointment really is we should really work hard to get a budget passed, a concrete budget. What this CR basically did was extended the funding through October, which is the end of the fiscal year. I don't see any reason why we keep kicking the can down the road. And all the CR does is it continues to fund the government, more importantly, but it continues to fund the government at the current levels it's at. There's no additional funds or anything for any kind of programs. You know that I really want to push hard on getting education reform done. That's important. Infrastructure is important. So I really hope that Congress does work hard in getting a proposal, a budget passed. I submitted a budget. You can look at my budget. Congress can look at the budget and see what it is. I think it's an acceptable proposal. I think it's acceptable, and we need to really, need to reinstore faith in the American people. The American people have heard a lot of things about what's going on up here in Washington, and it's I think the morale is down throughout the country, and we need to reassure the American people that we're here for them. You know, that's the reason why you run for office. And that's the reason why you're elected. You're elected to represent the American people. You're elected to represent the citizens of your district or your state or your country. And I think we need to do a better job of doing it. We need to remember when we're up here of who we're up here for and who we're representing, and vote in the way that supports our district, our state, and our country. And as far as DOGE is concerned, what I want to say about that, quite frankly, is I believe that it's wrong to put these drastic cuts across government. I wouldn't do that. We're cutting departments. Under my administration, I would not cut the education department. I wouldn't cut any government agency. As a matter of fact, really, DOGE can't do that. Any agency that is to be eliminated has to be approved through Congress, and so it's not just a pen to paper approach to eliminating an agency. And I think there's better ways to go about doing that instead of putting hundreds of thousands of employees out of work. Look at the unemployment numbers have gone up. They're going up because of the actions of DOGE, and I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong, and my administration would never do anything to do that, to condone laying off hundreds of thousands of employees. I mean, think about it. There was even concern this weekend about, with all the severe storms that were going on down south, about there being enough meteorologists on staff to give the acceptable warnings in the area. And I'm concerned that that may have had an impact on some of the numbers I'm hearing of deaths coming out of the South. Why are we doing this? I'm all for a balanced budget. I'm all for watching what we're spending, but I'm not for doing it at people's expense and doing harm upon the country and the people. So that's where I stand on that, guys. Thank you guys very much. Thank you. Reverend, for that great great introduction. Always great to be with the great Reverend Al here. He actually flew with us over from Texas this morning. Always great to have some time with him talking about the issues facing our nation. It is a profound honor to stand here today here in Selma on this sacred ground, where history was made by the courage of ordinary people who believed in the extraordinary promise of America. 60 years ago, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, much like today, brave men and women set out from Brown Chapel AME Church with nothing but faith in their hearts and a dream of a more just nation. A very simple ideal. They knew the dangers that lie ahead. They knew that marching toward this bridge meant marching straight to the forces of hate and violence. And yet they walked. They walked for a simple but fundamental right, the right to vote, the right to have a say in their own futures, and in the future of their children, and in the future of this country. They walked because they believed that democracy belonged to all of us, not to just those in power, not to just those who can afford it, not to just those who looked a certain way or lived in a certain place. But when they reached this bridge, they were met with tear gas and clubs. They were knocked to the ground, beaten and bloody. They were told in the most violent way possible that their voices didn't matter. But what the forces of hate didn't understand, what they could never understand, is the fact that the foot soldiers of the civil rights movement were marching for something far greater than themselves. That day, the world bore witness to the true cost of justice. That day, the conscience of a nation was shaken awake. And that day, through the marchers were pushed back, they did not turn their back because of what happened on this bridge. It was not the end. It was simply the beginning of a movement that would change the course of history. In the weeks and months that followed, Americans from every corner of the nation stood up and spoke out. Black, white, young and old, people of all backgrounds came together to demand change. And because of their courage, because of their sacrifices, made right here in Selma, President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965 into law. That law tore down the barriers of discrimination that has silenced black voters for generations. It had put an end to literacy tests. It did put an end to literacy tests and poll taxes. It made clear that the right to vote, the most sacred right in a democracy, belongs to every single American. But my friends, the struggle did not end in 1965. In the decades since, we have seen forces working to chip away at those hard-won rights. We've seen states pass laws that make it harder, not easier, for people to vote. Laws that close polling places in black and brown communities, that shorten early voting hours, that impose new restrictions aimed at silencing voices. We've seen the gutting of the Voting Rights Act by the Supreme Court, stripping away key protections that generations fought for and bled for. And so today, we must ask ourselves, what would John Lewis say if he were here? What would Amelia Boynton, Reverend Hosea Williams, and those foot soldiers of justice say if they saw that the rights they bled for are once again under threat? I believe they would tell us the work is not finished. The work is not finished. The fight is not over, and we must keep marching forward. The lesson of Selma is not just about what happened, then it's about what we do now. It's about the responsibility of each of us carries to defend the progress that was so painfully won. It's about whether we will stand up, just as those marchers did, and demand our democracy truly reflects the will of the people. That's why I'm calling on Congress today to restore and strengthen the Voting Rights Act, to pass new protections that ensure every American, no matter who they are,
or where they live can cast their ballot freely, fairly, and without intimidation. Because voting is not just a right, it's a responsibility. It's the cornerstone of our democracy. It is the power by which we shape our future. And as long as I'm your president, I will not stand by while that power is threatened. So let us leave here today with a renewed sense of purpose. Let us honor the heroes of Bloody Sunday, not just with our words, but with action. Let us fight for a democracy that is strong and as inclusive as the one they dreamed of. And let us always remember the lesson of Selma, that the arc of the moral universe does not bend toward justice only if we pull it together. Or it does bend toward justice if we only pull it together. And I really believe that, folks. You know, like I said, there's so much at stake. The Voting Rights Act, the rights of all Americans are simply under attack, and we must do everything in our power to protect those freedoms, because we are the United States of America. And as a president once said, there's nothing beyond our capacity that we can't do if we do it together. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America, and may He protect our troops. Thank you all very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.